Welcome to another Troodon video. This one's going to be about the Horde Test and the changes coming up to Troodon in terms of the new counts, different stamina costs, as well as the diet changes. Pounces now will launch yourself in the direction that you are looking. So this has added an incredible amount of height to the Troodon pounce, which now makes it viable against PTs now. Instead of just having to jump and hopefully something gets down low enough, you can now actually pounce upwards higher than you can jump. And since we happen to have a deer coming across there, that's actually one of the changes to the Troodon. Boar is no longer on the diet, crab is now on the diet, we have stegos back on our diet, and deer's been added to our diet as well. Here are those diet changes I was talking about. They've also added a speed nerf to the Troodon, so it's fresh spawn and juvenile speed is incredibly slow. But you do grow, at least it feels a little bit faster. And now with the pounces too, because they have a directionality to them, hopefully I won't be running into any more of those, oh, I need to pounce up a slight incline. I'm just going to hit a quick pose and go, ha! And then waste 5% of my stamina. So I've got a couple of clips for you to show you guys the potential of the Troodon now. We spot a Maia, and unfortunately my friend dies kind of early on. But this is a really good first fight, at least it was for me, to kind of understanding how much more flexible the Troodon is now in terms of how it can fight. So we spot the Maia. The new grass that's all over the place up in Northeast and South Plains is fantastic for Troodons and small tiny things. Now to get on to actually how Troodon works before we get into this fight. Troodon works off of a mechanic called Venom. When you envenomate a target, there are stages to it. 3 stages, each one accompanied by a chirp or a call that the entire pack follows. It'll sound like a little chirp, a trill, and then following stage 3 will be a nice little yodeling scream. You'll also get indications with the color of your target. When you press Q, you'll see me do it here in just a little bit once I get this first stage going. Stage 1. Your target's vision begins to cloud. They'll appear green when you sniff. After you trill, you can pounce again. With each additional stage, they take more damage, their heart beats faster, they bleed more. The Troodon is a terrifying battle of attrition. Stage 3. Their heart beats even faster, and they take even more damage. Now, this Maia decided to try to run from us in the water, but we're slightly more maneuverable. The Troodon has good water capacity. He gets himself back on land. Now, every pounce that you land in stage 3 does additional damage. I don't know what this guy was doing. He's doing the jiggy. Now, your stage 3 in Venom only lasts for 45 seconds. After that, you have to reset your Venom. It just means starting over. You'll see here the purple disappears from him, even though I'm still able to, do the sniff. Sniff, sniff. So we have to restart the Venom. Unfortunately, when it comes to pounces still, there's a lot of work that has to be done. Because Jolly and I tried to pounce in the same spot on the Maia, we ended up, hitting each other. He fell down, stunned, and he just got instantly killed. It's one of the big dangers of running, especially Troodon, with how squishy we are. Maia tries to make another run for the water. Now, even though he's not in stage 3, he's still going to take additional damage if I was to fight him in the water, which is why I chose to do so. Now he's stage 3. You don't always have to constantly do damage at stage 3. You can slowly whittle things down just by constantly putting them back into the stages of envenomation. Venom has a couple of additional mechanics as well. When you are in the various stages, the damage you take increases. Your bleed will increase as well with each increasing stage. And there's also a stamina penalty on your target as well. Now, in the past, the Troodon Pounce base costed 5% stamina. Now they've halved it to 2.5%. And if you get reinforced tendons, you can drop that down to 1.25% per pounce. And with this decreased pounce cost, that alone makes the Troodon far more viable. And with the new pounce rework, being able to control the angle and the distance that you're pouncing, Troodon just feels so nice now. It really does. Now, because I'm a madman, the river's not going to stop me from getting over to the Maia. I don't want him resting up. I don't want him getting water. I don't want him getting comfortable. Nice little jukey juke. And we're back on the same side of the river. Connection to the server gets a little spotty from here on out. Not sure what causes it on the Horde Test, but ping spikes get pretty bad out there. Both of us are just so dangerously low on stamina. He's at the point where he can't even sprint. He has to walk around after me. But I'm also getting dangerously low. So my intent is to get into stage 3. Maybe do 2 more pounces on him while he's in stage 3. And then back up so I can rest up my stamina while he can't get his back. The lower your stamina, the lower your water, the worse your bleed, and the worse your stamina regeneration. I can tell this Maia was upset. Against 1 calling, 4 calling, 3 calling, making as much noise as possible, praying that somebody's going to come by and save him. Even though I probably should have just stayed resting there to get a little bit more stamina back, I didn't want to lose him. I didn't want to see if he was going to try to find a place where he could log while I was trying to get my stamina back. So I wanted to keep a very close eye on him. He decided to sit in the bush. I tell him he's not allowed. And at this point, he kind of does what's probably the best thing right now. Because it's just me, he knows that I'm also low on stamina. But he can't chase after me. He's using what little stamina he's gained back to use his attacks. But he knows that if I can't get my stamina back, I can't attack him. So he's going to continuously walk towards me. Or try to. He decides to take a seat down as well. A momentary reprieve from the ass kicking. Now, this was not even a full-grown Troodon when I started this fight. Which makes me really happy to see that the Troodon is much more viable now. Even if it's still a high-risk, high-reward playable. These kind of engagements and fights, I enjoy. The Maia decides to get up. He's got, I guess, enough stamina to make it wherever he wants to go. Two failed pounces there. Finally landing my third one. Now, he's getting far more aggressive with his attacks because I think he's expecting me to get more panicky. Maybe a little bit too excited to think straight. But with each of these big moving attacks he makes, all it does is just make it easier for me to hit him. The server decides to let me go ice skating for a little bit in the grass. And once again, he's using up his stamina to try to attack me, which is costing him far more than it's costing me at this point. There's different ways to tell how much damage you've done to a target based off of the scratches you see as well as their coloration. The more bleed a target loses, the paler and more saturated the colors appear. The more damage you deal to a target, the more red gashes you see across them. Once again, he's out of stamina. He can't afford to let me get my stamina back, so he's just going to do nothing but walk towards me, try to keep me from resting. But all the while, it keeps his bleed going. He makes his way over to, I guess where like these sort of like mini rock plateaus, if you want to call them that, are over here on the river. He's trying to get some more water because his bleed is probably relatively low, all things considered. Especially because it's a single Troodon doing all this to him. But he's going to try to situate himself up against these rocks to try to prevent me from being able to do anything via my pounces. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some more stamina back. Now, there's nothing funnier to me than being able to put yourself right in front of your victim where they can't do anything to you. Don't know how I survived that, but there's some desync going on with the server here, which I should have taken that as my hint to get a little bit more stamina. But by keeping the stages of Envenom on him, it's going to make it harder for him to recover. Almost drowned just trying to get out of the river there. He begins calling out, and it sounds like there's a galley nearby. Maybe he's asking for help, maybe this galley knows him, maybe he doesn't. But he does not sound good. With just enough stamina to re-envenomate him, get out of there. Pounce on, pounce off. Laugh at his face. Ha ha ha, I'm a Troodon. You're a stupid Maia. And rest right in front of him once again. Psychological warfare is what the Troodon excels at. Unfortunately, as good as the Troodon is right now, the one thing that will always beat your Troodon is Desync. Maia got lucky there, but that was a good fight. It was a frustrating end, sure, but hopefully this gives you a good understanding of what the Troodon can do just on its own. Now in this clip, I'm with another random Troodon over in South Plains, and we end up chasing after a Carno that had a Raptor on him. Raptor decided to join in with us to kill the Carno since we are no longer on Raptor's diets, and vice versa. Hello, little trike. These things look so cute when they're small. Now, this would have probably been an easy pickings for me, but we were more interested in the Carno across the river. Carno was chasing down this raptor, so we decided to help out. With Carnos, I like to bait out their attacks because they have very wide swinging ult bites. But they're not very nimble and maneuverable. They can't turn like a Sarah can. Baiting attacks while I'm in the water seems to be something I have way too much luck with. Once again, baiting attacks from the Carno, make easy pounces. This is what I don't understand happens. I got stuck into the tree because of that ult bite, and because of that, I ended up dying. Which is unfortunate, but it happens. What? This last clip, I was not even 50%. I did not have my Venom. And this was also when the Horde Test servers were a little bit too full of the big stuff. AI was not spawning properly, so we were struggling to get diets. Any food we did have kept getting stolen by these tiny Sarahs. This is where, unfortunately, the Troodon is just not that viable. When it does not have Venom, it does a measly couple points of damage into something that has several hundred points worth of health. The only way you're going to win these fights is via the bleed. But unlike Raptor, there is no additional bleed damage that you can do. Like with Raptor, you have your neutral pounce, where you don't hold anything. Then you have your left click bite, which does additional damage. Then you have your right click, which does additional bleed at the cost of damage. Troodon doesn't get that. We only have our Venom at 50%, and that's it. But if you are close enough to your 50% mark, you can still start stacking up bleed so that when you do get your Venom, that target is already bleeding heavily. And that bleed drop that they'll experience will be much harsher than they saw before, and cause some people to panic. With this Sarah, Sarahs are always a difficult thing to try to go up against because of how quick their attacks are, how nimble, how fast turning. Good Sarahs are scary. When they're smaller, though, you can kind of work around them because they have a limited attack range compared to you. But all I'm doing here is trying to get him to waste more stamina than me, and to keep that bleed going. So if I was to get this kill, bleed was probably going to be my best option.
Ooh.
Now, the Sarah's doing a good job by staying by the trees. It makes it very, very risky to pounce him, because if I happen to stay caught on him when he turns into a tree, like you saw with that Carno fight, it could be an easy, easy end for me. Ooh, that could have been bad. Now, I would not advise using the right click on small, nimble playables like a Troodon, especially when you're a Sarah, just because it does a lot of damage, but you don't need to do all that much damage to me. It's better to try to get an ult bite off than it is to do the right click. Now, even though he's much bigger than me, I've still done a pretty decent chunk of damage, at least to him. You can start seeing some gash marks show up on him. with the damage starting to show, and with him sprinting away constantly, I just figured that his bleed was starting to stack up a little bit too much because he was a little bit too fervent with his charge bite. As you can see there, I was maybe 5-10 points away from getting my venom back. No sitting. Keep running. Tracking his blood, which there's plenty of, and his footsteps, let me find him once again. Now, if you look in the bottom right corner of my screen, you'll see that I have the little mutation symbol, 50%. I have venom. I take hypermetabolic because, one, I just got my venom. It's not going to do that much damage, but I'm probably going to starve if I don't eat this guy. But with venom now, my damage gets amplified. He's doing a good job sitting in a tree, trying to camp the tree. Woo. He almost got me there, but pounced through the bush. He knocks me off on the tree here. Now, one of the things that you have to be careful of whenever you do pounce a target, you can get knocked off by trees, walls, etc. So that's why the Sarah is sitting here against this big tree. Stage 2 venom, though. Even though I'm 50%, the bleed is still going to be stacking. He starts running as fast as he can to get away from me. Trying to get him to stop so I can pounce him. That's the main thing I'm trying to go for. That's why you saw me do those pounces out in the middle of nowhere. However, there are times where your dismounts will get you killed far more than your actual pounces and your latches. As I pounce on him here, I jump off, but it places me not only in front of him, but places me in a direction where it completely kills my momentum. But thus is the life of the Troodon. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to see more of these kind of fights and in-depth kind of walkthroughs, I'd be more than happy to make them. Just like, comment, subscribe, do your engagement stuff, algorithm shit, and I will see you guys in the next video. Love you guys so much. Stay trashy.